All right. Good morning, everyone. We'll now reconvene this meeting of the Government Administration and Elections Committee. I'm going to proceed to item number 2. Today is a meeting to raise concepts and bills for public hearing. And I will be going through those very shortly, but I wanted to give the public who are listening the admonition, as we always do when we do these meetings, that just because someone votes for a bill or votes to raise a bill rather in this meeting doesn't mean that they are necessarily going to support the bill as it goes forward. This is how we start the conversation in the committee to ensure that we can have that conversation with the public. So with that, I will turn the meeting briefly over to our House Vice Chair, Representative Morambello, who will walk us through the safety information for today in the hearing room. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. In the interest of safety, I would ask you to note the location of and access to the exits in this hearing room. The 2 doors through which you entered the room are the emergency exits and are marked with exit signs. In an emergency, the door behind the legislators can also be used. In the event of an emergency, please walk quickly to the nearest exit. After exiting the room, proceed to the main stairs or follow the exit signs to one of the fire stairs. Please quickly exit the building and follow any instructions from the Capitol Police. Do not delay and do not return unless you are advised that it is safe to do so. In the event of a lockdown, announcements, please remain in the hearing room and stay away from the exit doors until all clear announcement is heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Morambello. With that, we will turn to item number 3 on the agenda, which is concepts to be raised. I would entertain a motion to raise item number 1 in section 3.
So moved.
And a second? Any discussion? Representative Sampson, or sorry, Senator Sampson.
It's all
Mr.
good.
Ranking.
All good, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the GAE committee and our first real meeting, I would characterize it as. I will also repeat that same commentary that the chair shared, that there are items on this agenda today that we're going to, kind of go through very quickly, and ultimately, I think the vast majority of them will pass out of here today unanimously on a voice vote. But that does not mean that at the end of the day, there will not be opposition to some of these items. I know that there are some of them already that I just can't see myself voting for at the end of the day, but that doesn't mean that we're not willing to necessarily have a public hearing and listen to the commentary and the discussion. So just wanted to make that general statement. And with regard to the very first item on this agenda, all I've got on it, Mr. Chairman, is it says an act concerning government administration. Can you fill me in on what the purpose of this bill is?
Thank you, Senator Sampson. This bill is going to deal with a number of agency proposals to clarify certain statutes and better administer our state agencies, especially Department of Administrative Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that answer.
With that, I would entertain a motion to create a consent calendar. Yes, thank you. And I move that item 1 be placed on that consent calendar. Any objection? Item number 1 is placed on the consent calendar. I would entertain a motion to raise concept number 2.
Second.
Moved by Representative Parker, seconded by Representative Morin-Bello. Item number 2 is an act concerning revisions to the Freedom of Information Act, recommended by the Freedom of Information Commission. The title is relatively self-explanatory. This is an agency proposal from the Freedom of Information Commission, which is supplying us with a number of measures they'd like us to take or entertain to clarify certain aspects of the Freedom of Information law and procedures. Any remarks? Representative Mastrofrancesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just curious. I know last year that we had a proposal by the Freedom of Information Commission. Some of those items went through and some didn't. Do you have any idea, or would you know, are some of these things in this particular bill similar to what we did last year?
I believe there are some items that are in their proposals that we entertained last year, and some of them are new.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Mastrofrancesco. Any further remarks? With that, I would move that this item be placed on the consent calendar. Any objection? No objection. Item number 2 is placed on the consent calendar. With that, I would entertain a motion to raise item number 3 of section 3. Moved by Representative Haddad, seconded by Representative Santiago. Any remarks? Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When they come up on the agenda and they have really very little meat in the title, maybe it'd be helpful if you just started by giving us a description, and then I won't necessarily have to ask any questions. But for example, this one says an act concerning ethics. It'd be very helpful if we knew exactly what's going on. I know that the Office of State Ethics has a couple of other items on this agenda, item 42 and item 46, which I think I have a pretty good idea what those bills are actually about. But this one, I have no clue at all. So if you could share anything, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. And that note is well taken. I'll try to go through these with a little introductory description going forward. So this bill or this concept is meant to contain some of the other proposals by the Office of State Ethics, in addition to the specific ones that you see later in this agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. It doesn't tell me a whole lot, much more, and I completely understand. At this stage of our process, we're simply gathering information for a hearing. But the difficulty I have is we were asking the members to vote affirmatively about whether or not this item should move forward. And when we don't know what the goal is, that's a very difficult thing to do. I'm not suggesting we should have every detail and every bit of language drafted, but we should have a bill that is, we should have an idea of what is intended. Is this a placeholder for any other ethics related policy that we want to pursue this session, or is there a specific policy that we're trying to advance with this item? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. We are still awaiting the specific language that will encompass this proposal. So it's not necessarily all specified yet in the language, but we will be entertaining language proposed by the Office of State Ethics in this proposal. That is the plan.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'm not usually a fan of, placeholder type items. Obviously, an act concerning ethics is probably not a big red flag for me. But just as for future reference, if we can have a bit more policy associated with each of these items that have very vague titles, it might be extremely helpful. I don't want to make a big issue out of it, obviously, but it is one of those things where it's difficult to vote on because we don't really know what the ultimate purpose of this proposal will be. And I think the public has a right to know what exactly we're talking about advancing. Certainly, this committee is going to discuss a lot of topics, and ethics is one of them. So it's not a surprise, but to have an actual bill title being raised without an express purpose to me is a concern. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. Is there any further comment? Without objection, I would place this item on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, this item is placed on the consent calendar. Next, I would entertain a motion to raise item number 4 of section 3, an act concerning state contracting requirements and certain procurement thresholds. This is a proposal coming to us from the Department of Administrative Services. Motion from Representative Berger-Giavolo, seconded by Representative Morambello. Any remarks? Representative Master Francesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Senator Sampson said, obviously there's no language with this. I'm assuming that the title, at least in this one, gives us a little bit more information on what this bill language could possibly be about. And it seems like it's a procurement thresholds. Would that be pretty accurate? Do you think the language is going to be focused on that for you?
Thank you, Representative Master Francesco. That is accurate.
Thank you.
Any further remarks? Any further comment from the committee? Seeing none, without objection, I would place this item on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, this item is placed on the consent calendar. Next, we have on our agenda number 5 of section 3, an act concerning the non-disclosure of the residential addresses of certain employees under the Freedom of Information Act. I would entertain a motion to raise this item. Moved by Representative Haddad, seconded by Representative Santiago. Any comment from the committee? Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not to second guess the chairman, but I thought you were going to give us a little description, and we didn't get it on the last two. And I know it's you're trying to follow the process, and I'm very sorry that we're taking these one by one, but it seems to me the only real way to get at what the bills are. This one, it's pretty clear. We're going to discuss non-disclosure of residential addresses for certain employees. Do we know what employees are being referred to in this proposal, Mr. Chairman?
This proposal contains a number of employees who have interaction with the public that might put them at risk for their safety. All the employees are not necessarily specified at this point, but they encompass employees from several different agencies that do have that contact that could cause them to have a reduced security situation.
Yeah, and thank you very much for that information. Yeah, I can appreciate that. We've had a number of bills before this committee over the years. It seems like this list continues to expand, though, and I have a little concern about that. I mean, people that work for the state of Connecticut, they work for the public, and my overall opinion is that should be a public record, and failure to disclose these addresses is somewhat concerning. I do certainly recognize that people that work in various state agencies, certainly police officers, that kind of thing, they have obviously a little more risk associated with their duties associated with their position. I don't know. I think that it'd be hard to convince me that anyone who's not already covered should be, but I'm okay with hearing the proposal. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. Any further comment from the committee? Seeing none, without objection, I will place this item on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, I'll place this item on the consent calendar. Next, we have item number 6, an act concerning the State Contracting Standards Board. This is an item that is coming to us to increase oversight and transparency with regard to the State Contracting Standards Board. And I would entertain a motion to raise item number 6. Moved by Representative Haddad, seconded by Representative Parker. Any further comment from the committee? Seeing no comment, without objection, this item will be placed on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, this item is placed on the consent calendar. We'll move to the next item, which is number 7, an act concerning contracting with quasi-public agencies. This is a proposal coming to us from the Office of State Ethics, and it would increase transparency and accountability with regard to contracting by quasi-public agencies. I would entertain a motion to raise number 8, section 3.
So moved.
Moved by Senator Marks, seconded by Representative Berger-Giovanni. Are there any comments from the committee? No comments from the committee. And so without objection, this item will be placed on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, item number 7 is placed on the consent calendar. That moves us to item number 8, an act restoring the citizens election program. This is a proposal coming from the State Elections Enforcement Commission. It is meant to clarify certain requirements of the program, and also to entertain other proposals to ensure that the program is working properly and used by candidates who would like to use it in our elections. With that, I would entertain a motion to raise item number 8. Moved by Representative Morambello, seconded by, I believe, Representative Santiago. Is there any comment or question on this item? No comment or question. Without objection, this item will be placed on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, it is placed on the consent calendar. The next item is an act number 9, an act concerning elections and the Superior Court. This is a proposal coming to us from the Secretary of State's office, and it is clarifying our laws with regard to elections and the ability of the Superior Court to decide on disputed issues regarding elections. With that, I would entertain a motion to raise item number 9. Moved by Representative Parker, seconded by Representative Berger-Giovanni. Any comment or question on this item? Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I was wondering, reading the title, what this had to do with. And since, did you mention that it's coming to us through the Secretary of the State's office? Is that correct?
I believe that is correct.
Yeah, I just find it interesting. I mean, this is something that the House Republicans have brought forward for the last several years since we had an election issue in Stratford a number of years ago. And the concern has always been that when you have a dispute in elections, ultimately, I think that case should be heard by an unbiased authority, and our court system is the way to go. But unfortunately, the way our current law reads, it's the legislature that resolves those issues, and clearly whichever party is in power is going to have a vested interest in the outcome, and so it's something that should be changed. I'm very pleased to see that this bill is on our agenda, if that's what it is, and I'm hoping that we get to a resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. Look forward to working with you in our hearings on this proposal. Are there any other comments or questions from the committee on this item? Seeing none, without objection, I'll place this item on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, I'll place item number 9 on the consent calendar. With that, we have item number 10 of section 3, which is entitled a concept entitled an act concerning absentee voting. This is a proposal coming to us from the Secretary of the State's office, which is meant to clarify certain aspects of our statutes with regard to the absentee voting process. With that, I would entertain a motion to raise the item. Thank you. Motion from Senator Marks, second from Representative Berger-Giovanni. Any comment or question on this item? Representative Massey-Francesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you mentioned, I believe this has come from the Secretary of State's office.
Yes.
again, do you have any more insight at all as to what she's referring to about the absentee ballots, about absentee voting, clarifying statutes? I know last year and the year before, we've been through a number of issues regarding absentee balloting and voting, changing the statutes. It seems to be pretty clear, so I'm just curious, do you have any more insight into what maybe she's thinking on this particular bill? And again, it's more even for the public to know. Obviously, there's no language here at all. We don't have any information, and I think it's important for the public to know something that sure we want to hear and listen to what the Secretary of State's proposal is when we see it. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to support it, but I think it's important to have a little bit more insight if you have it on that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Master-Francesco. As I understand it, this proposal is meant to deal not with the substance of who can obtain an absentee ballot, but to clarify certain aspects of the procedure with regard to guidance that the Secretary of State has issued in the past. With that, that's how we'll entertain the bill.
Okay, well, I guess we'll wait until we see the language on that to get more detail. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Master-Francesco. Are there any other comments or questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, without objection, I'll place this item on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, this item will be placed on the consent calendar. That will move us to item number 11. Item number 11 is an act concerning withdrawn candidates. This is an act to clarify the process for how withdrawn candidates may be removed from the ballot and other associated issues. It comes to us from the Secretary of the State's office, and I would entertain a motion to raise item number 11. Thank you. A motion from Representative Berger-Travallo, second from Senator Matt Marks. Any comments or questions on this concept? Seeing none, without objection, I will place this item on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, this item will be placed on the consent calendar. That moves us to number 12, an act concerning municipal campaign finance filings. This is a proposal coming to us from the State Elections Enforcement Commission. It is meant to address and clarify certain aspects of the campaign finance filing process. And with that, I will entertain a motion to raise item number 12. Moved by Senator Marks, seconded by, I believe it was Representative Berger-Travallo. Is there any comment or question on this proposal? Seeing none, without objection, I'll place this item on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, this item is placed on the consent calendar. That moves us to item number 3, an act implementing early voting. This concept is addressed to the constitutional amendment that was passed this past year with regard to allowing early voting in the state of Connecticut. This concept is one of several that is on our agenda in which the committee will consider whether, how, and under what circumstances to implement early voting. Are there any comments or questions from the committee? Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I gathered if you had any more information about exactly what parameters we might have for early voting, you might have mentioned them. And obviously, this is going to be a big issue in this committee this year. In fact, it makes me wonder why we have 60 other items that we're gonna tackle at the same time. It feels to me like the early voting issue might take up the entire committee's time, and as well it should, because I think it's an important issue and we need to get it right. I don't want to belabor the point, but I do want to point out that my concern about early voting has always been about the parameters. We put it on the ballot and it did pass, but the public still does not know whether early voting implies 2 days or 5 days or 30 days or 100 days. And that's something that I think they should have been aware of before it ever reached that point. And now we're at the spot in time where we're going to actually address those parameters. And certainly the people of Connecticut voted favorably towards early voting. I think most people that I spoke to during the last campaign cycle indicated that they recognize the need for a couple more days. So I'm kind of throwing that out there for the chair's benefit, that I think that, if we have a limited amount of time and we are very forthright about protecting the integrity of the vote, maintaining the security of the voting machines and things like that throughout the process, and properly funding the ability for towns to handle any additional days of voting, then I think that this bill could maybe make it out of this committee in a bipartisan fashion and with a lot of support. If it's going to be an extended period and those things are not handled properly, I'm confident my caucus is going to push hard to get us back into that realm that I just spoke of. So I just wanted to have a word with the committee about it since it's on the agenda today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. And I've just been informed that it may have been the case that I did not entertain a motion to raise this item. So I will entertain a motion. Moved by Representative Morin-Bello, seconded by Representative Berger-Travallo. Is there any other comment or question on this item? Representative Master-Francesco.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I certainly echo Senator Sampson's comments, and it's our hope that this committee will work together in a bipartisan fashion to come up with the right solution for early voting. I do notice on the agenda, though, items 13, items 28, and it's the same title, an act concerning early voting, and then there's one actually that has language on it that's at the other end of the agenda. I'm just curious why we have two bills on here with the same exact title for concept.
Thank you, Representative Master-Francesco. The aim,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say, I just read it. One says implementing and one says concerning early voting, but basically along the same subject.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Master-Francesco. The aim of containing multiple concepts and bills on early voting in this agenda is, as Senator Sampson alluded to, this is going to be one of the biggest issues that we handle this session in this committee, and it's going to require a lot of discussion. And we want to, at least in part, give the public the option of commenting on different versions of the proposals as we go forward, so that they have something to base their comments on, and they can have different options to give their input on. And so that is the aim of having these multiple items that, at least on the surface, appear to be addressed as doing roughly the same thing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As just looking on the agenda, there was like 70 items on the agenda. I think if we all put them into what we probably could have got it down to maybe 40. But thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Representative Master-Francesco. Is there any other comment or question from the committee? Seeing none, without objection, I'll place this item on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, this item is placed on the consent calendar. Next, we have number 14, an act concerning the State Properties Review Board. This comes to us from the SPRB. It is to clarify the processes and the transparency with regard to the State Properties Review Board. With that, I would entertain a motion to raise. A motion from Representative Berger-Travallo, seconded by Representative Santiago. Is there any comment or question on this item? Seeing none, I would, without objection, place this item on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, this item will be placed on the consent calendar. Moving to the next item, item number 15. It's an act concerning modernizing processes for recanvasses of elections. This proposal comes to us with the question set out in a number of previous elections where we've had recanvasses, and the processes have at times resulted in confusion. And the committee has considered that it is appropriate at this time to evaluate whether those processes for recanvassing elections are ones that suit our modern needs, and whether we can introduce more transparency and clarity into those processes this session. And with that, I would entertain a motion to raise item number 15. Moved by Representative Haddad, seconded by Representative Santiago. Any comment or question on this proposal? Senator Sampson.
Very briefly, Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank the committee for raising this concept. I know we've spoken offline, and I've asked about a number of items participating in a recount election for one of the state rep seats in my one of my towns in my district in Southington this year. A few things came up that I think we could find a way to improve on, or at least clarify in statute what is intended by the language. One of those was just the notion of observers at a recount. It just says that people are allowed to observe. It's not really clear about whether they can observe, behind a plate glass window across a room, or they can actually be up there watching the person feed the ballots into the machine. So I think we should go talk about it and clarify what is really intended by the statute. And I think this is a good vehicle for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. Is there any other question or comment from the committee? Seeing none, without objection, this item will be placed on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, this item is placed on the consent calendar. Next, we have item number 16, an act concerning bonding authority of the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority, the reporting of material financial obligations by state agencies, tax exempt proceeds, fund references, and the notification of the sale or lease of projects financed with bond proceeds. This item comes to us from the treasurer's office, and hopefully is at least somewhat self-explanatory. With that, I will entertain a motion to raise item number 16. Moved by Representative Berger-Giavalo, seconded by Representative Haddad. Is there any comment or question on this item? Seeing none, without objection, I will place this item on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, this item is placed on the consent calendar. Next, we have item number 17. Item number 17 comes to us from the Freedom of Information Commission. It is going to be addressed to clarifying some of the statutes with regard to the Freedom of Information Commission and the Freedom of Information process. With that, I would entertain a motion to raise item number 17. Moved by Representative Haddad, seconded by Representative Berger-Giavalo. Is there any comment or question on this item? Representative Massafrancesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this one here particularly different than the first one that we did? Is it all the same? Is it the Freedom of Information Commission? I think it's on number 5 we did. No, it was not number 5. There was another bill we did about the freedom of information. Oh, I think it was number 2. Is it the same commission that's recommending this one here?
Yes, Representative Massafrancesco.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any further question or comment from the committee? Seeing none, without objection, I'll place this item on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, this item will be placed on the consent calendar. Next, we'll entertain number 18, an act concerning the Citizens Election Program. This is a concept to encompass further proposals with regard to the Citizens Election Program, to clarifying and augmenting the program. So with that, I would entertain a motion to raise item number 18. Moved by Representative Morambello, seconded by Representative Haddad. Is there any comment or question on this item? Seeing none, without objection, I'll move this item to the consent calendar. There's seeing no objection, this item is moved to the consent calendar. Next, we have item number 19, an act concerning faithless presidential electors and the certification of election results. This is a proposal that would help clarify the process with regard to so-called faithless presidential electors who do not follow the results of the election as certified, and to clarify the process for certifying election results and ensure that that is done in an expeditious fashion. With that, I would entertain a motion to raise this item. Moved by Representative Parker, seconded by Representative Berger-Giavalo. Is there any comment or question on this item? Seeing none, without objection, this item will be placed on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, this item is placed on the consent calendar. Next, we have item number 20, an act concerning the use of online platforms. This is a proposal. We've seen a number of issues arising with regard to elections and online platforms, the information contained on them, and the processes by which campaigns can participate in them, and elected officials can use online platforms. This is a proposal in which we'll be entertaining certain clarifications to the statutes that govern those subject matter. With that, I would entertain a motion to raise item number 20. Moved by Representative Morambello, seconded by Representative Berger-Giovanni. Is there any comment or question on this item? Seeing none, without objection, this item will be placed on the consent calendar. Seeing no objections, this item will be placed on the consent calendar. Next is a concept entitled Resolution Concerning the Right to Privacy. This resolution would entertain an amendment to the Constitution with regard to clarifying the right to privacy under our state laws. I would entertain a motion to raise this concept. Moved by Representative Berger-Giovanni, seconded by Representative Haddad. Is there any comment or question on this item? Representative Mastrofrancesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The right to privacy is very, very broad. Would you have any other insight as to something more specific within it? You had mentioned our Constitution. Is there anything more specific that you might have insight on what maybe they're referring to?
Sure. So under both our state and federal constitutions, there has been in law considered a right to privacy. Under our own state constitution, there's a right to privacy, and also Equal Rights Amendment is believed to by decisions that have been passed down by our courts to contain certain aspects of a right to privacy, as well as the U.S. Supreme Court has considered certain aspects of a right to privacy contained within the Constitution, specifically the Bill of Rights. And so this would be a proposal for a resolution to clarify the parameters of the state constitutional right to privacy and personal autonomy.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Thank you for that answer, but I'll be curious to hear what the bill language is. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Mastrofrancesco. Is there any further comment or question from the committee? Seeing none, without objection, this item will be placed on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, this item will be placed on the consent calendar. Next, we have item number 22, an act concerning campaign finance. This is another proposal to clarify certain aspects of our campaign finance laws with regard to State Elections Enforcement Commission. I would entertain a motion to raise it. Moved by Representative Berger-Giovanni, seconded by Representative Haddad. Is there any comment or question on this item? Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry that we sound like a broken record over here, but there's been several other items. We just did an act concerning the Citizens Election Program. This is an act concerning campaign finance. It seems to me that these titles are broad enough that they could encompass a lot of different things. Is there any other additional information on what is intended by item number 22?
Thank you, Senator Sampson. This would consider certain other proposals to us by the State Elections Enforcement Commission with regard to our campaign finance laws.
Thank you for that answer, Mr. Chairman. And no disrespect intended, but we need more information on these things going forward. There's too many items on this agenda that we really have no idea what is being proposed. Again, anything that we're voting on and we're being asked to commit yes or no, even if it's just for the notion of having a hearing, I think the members deserve to have a little more information before they cast a vote, either in the affirmative or otherwise. And again, I understand that sometimes we don't have all of the necessary information, and we want to reserve a title so that it's there to fit information in later. But the nature of our process really requires that we have some of that information now. And the reason why I say that is because the next step for these bills is that they will be drafted for a public hearing. But how much notice will the public have about that drafting? How public will it be that information about what is actually being proposed is going to be in front of those folks, and how much time will they have to prepare to come for a public hearing. I think that's a very short timeline. I don't know that it's fair to the public, which is the reason why we're spending a little time trying to draw out a little more information, so that the people on the street have an idea of what is going to happen in this committee this year. And I understand you're in a very difficult position, and I mean no disrespect whatsoever. I just, please, going forward, try and keep it in mind that our constituents really need to know what we're talking about, not just an act concerning campaign finance. It's like, well, are we changing a law regarding campaign finance? What policy? What does it have to do with? What is the purpose of the change? What benefit will it have? Those are important questions that we should answer on every one of these items, and then say, yeah, okay, that's worth having a hearing about. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. Appreciate your question and your concerns. And of course, items such as these will have language drafted for them for consideration of public hearing, and we look forward to that. Is there any further comment or question on this item? Seeing none, without objection, I'll place it on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, it will be placed on the consent calendar. That moves us to item number 23, an act concerning state contracting. This item will contain other proposals to increase transparency with regard to our state contracting processes, and to ensure that they serve the public and the taxpayers. I would entertain a motion to raise item number 23. Thank you. Moved by Representative Berger-Giavalo, seconded by Representative Haddad. Is there any comment or question on this item? Representative Massey-Francesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this particular bill have to do with the State Contracting Review Board? I think because we did one earlier concerning state contracting.
Thank you, Representative Massey-Francesco. This item, I believe, contains certain aspects dealing with this with the State Contract Review Board, but also broader concepts seeking to introduce more transparency into the process by which the state contracts with private entities.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's just a lot of bills on this agenda today that we have no purpose, no statement of purpose, and I really don't know what it does. But a lot of them are almost the same. Similar, we'll say the same kind of subject. And I really get concerned about voting for something. And it's always been my policy and practice that I need something. We need some kind of substance. I don't know. It's I know you're doing the best you can, and there's only so much language we have, but this late in the game, we should have something. I mean, really, just out of respect for our members on both sides of the aisle, and especially the public, we should have some kind of language, something to let them know, what we're voting on. So it's certainly a concern, and reiterate again that anything that we say today that we just want to listen to see. I guess I'm curious, what is it? What are we talking about? But I shouldn't have to be that way. So it's a little frustrating on our end. So, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your answering that question for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Massey-Francesco. Appreciate your concerns, and we look forward to dealing with the specific language with regard to each of these proposals. Is there any other further question or comment on this item? Seeing none, without objection, I'll place this item on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, this item will be placed on the consent calendar. Next is item number 24, an act concerning government agencies. This is a proposal to clarify certain aspects of laws governing the Department of Administrative Services, is my understanding, and I will entertain a motion to raise it. Moved by Representative Morambello, seconded by Representative Berger-Giavalo. Is there any comment or question on this item? Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, another title that says an act concerning government agencies. I appreciate the clarification that it has to do with DAS. I don't know exactly the total number of bills that came to the GAE committee. It's probably in the neighborhood of maybe 200 proposals. And not in an effort to push my own agenda, but I proposed maybe a dozen, maybe as many as 20 bills that are suitable for this committee, but they all had a very specific purpose. Now, we might not all agree with those purposes, but at least those bills, you can tell right off the bat what is intended. I feel very bad for the chairman, although I really shouldn't. It's the two chairs that decide what items go on the agenda. They're the reason why this agenda looks the way it does and has this many items on it. And it's terrible that I've got to feel bad that I feel like I'm badgering the chairman for information. We're going to let these items go today, since I don't believe they cover very controversial topics. An act concerning government agencies could be almost anything, though. I mean, it could be a tweak in a statute, over some regulation or something, or it could be a monumental change like the elimination of a state agency or the creation of a new one. And that's what we need to have for information. So I will stop beating that horse. I think it's severely wounded at this point. But I wanted to be on the record one time suggesting that, there is a reason why we're meeting today in person, and we took the time to come sit here and actually review these items before moving them. If there's no point in voting because we don't know what they are, or almost anything could be encompassed. I mean, name a bill that wouldn't fit under this title. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. And I would just to assuage any concerns he may have. I don't think we have any plans to eliminate or create any government agencies this session, but I'm sure he'll be the first to know if that does enter the agenda. And I would just add, I respect and understand his concerns that he's expressed. But just for the public's knowledge, the votes that we're taking today on concepts are indeed to tell our legislative commissioner's office to actually draft language for these bills. So language will be drafted. That's the purpose of what we're doing today. And so they will have a chance to comment on much more specific proposals as we go forward. With that, is there any other question or comment?
Can I just follow up?
Sure. Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, again, just to the point, I mean, we are going to be asking, or the chairs will, the legislative commissioner's office to draft these bills. So somebody knows what this language is. And it's not the minority party, it's not the ranking members, and it's not the public apparently at this meeting.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. Is there any further question or comment on this item? Seeing none, without objection, I will place this item on the consent calendar. Seeing no objections, this item will be placed on the consent calendar. All right, thank you for your patience. So with that, I would entertain a motion to raise the remainder of the items in section 3. Moved by Representative Morambello, seconded by Representative Haddad. Is there any question or comment on those remaining items? Oh, excuse me. And just for LCO's purpose and for clarity, those items are items number 25 through 47 in section 3. Is there any question or comment on those items?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, no, and look, I'm I didn't like the idea that the meeting was dragging on either, and I suppose that this is a better solution. Although the purpose of doing the items one by one was simply that so each of us would have an opportunity to find out more about what each of those items are. When we do things in a large block like this, really supposed to have one conversation back and forth, and that's difficult to do when it's on 20 separate topics. I do have some concerns about some of the items on here. I will list my questions for you, unless you're fine with a small amount of back and forth. Number 26, an act concerning community outreach by state agencies regarding culturally appropriate terminology. It sounds like it might be a very positive concept, but it also could be something that is definitely political in nature. And I'd be curious to know what if you have any more information on that one.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. So item number 26 deals with certain concerns that have come to us from certain communities who at times feel that they have not been sufficiently included before or asked for comment before state agencies make decisions about what language or nomenclature to use with regard to how those state agencies refer to those communities. And so this would be a proposal that would essentially tell state agencies that before they make any decisions about what to call certain, especially minority communities in our state, or certain terminology that pertains to those communities and their cultures, that they would have to reach out to members of those communities for input about what those communities consider the appropriate terminology. And this would create a process for doing so through you.
Thank you for that answer, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the additional information. Number 27, an act concerning electronic book and digital audiobook licensing. I have a note that it came from the state library. I'm not really sure what's up here. I have a small concern about protecting the rights of the people that own these digital audiobooks. 28 is an act concerning early voting, which again we've already tackled. Why we have multiple titles, I don't think it's really necessary unless there's we want to have a House and a Senate version for some purpose later. 29, an act concerning elections. There's nothing here on that. An act concerning qualifications of the Office of Attorney General. Any idea, Mr. Chairman? Are we eliminating the requirement that the Attorney General has to be a lawyer, for example? Any idea what this bill is?
Senator Sampson, thanks for the question. There's no intention of eliminating the requirement that the Attorney General be a lawyer. In the past, there has been a lack of clarity about the particular requirements for someone to run for or serve as Attorney General in the state. It has led to litigation around elections, and this proposal is meant to allow the decision of this is meant to ensure that the decision about who should serve or be elected as Attorney General in this state to be left more in the hands of the voters through increased clarity, and not in the hands of the courts during an election season.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. Though I speculate that when this bill is drafted, there are going to be qualifications listed. It would be nice if we knew what those were in advance, but I completely understand. An act concerning the Electoral Count Reform Act of 2022. I know this comes from the Secretary of State's office. It's pretty straightforward. Number 32 would allow 16-year-old citizens to pre-register to vote. It doesn't allow them to vote. Some of us might have a little concern about, the incremental change, but that doesn't change the fact that doesn't seem like an unreasonable policy. 33 is recommendations from the auditors. That seems very straightforward. Number 34 is the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. There was a press conference just recently. I agreed with pretty much everything that was said at that press conference. I am not aware of any real problems that we have in the state of Connecticut about discrimination preventing someone from access to voting. Anxious to hear if there are things. It seems to me that almost anything that could happen is probably already illegal. My concern is that this bill and title has been used in the past to advance what I consider to be a very, very large change in the way we treat elections in some of our major cities. Anything that improves our system, maintains integrity, and provides more access, I'm going to be in favor of. If it is overtly political and designed to create strife between races or political parties, I will have an objection to. And that's just a preview of what we're going to see in the language. Ultimately, I hope it's more about protecting voter integrity and access than anything else. Revisions to the Freedom of Information Act. Again, we've had a number of bills having to do with FOIA. I don't know why we need so many titles. Number 36 is a constitutional amendment to allow for no excuse absentee voting. As far as I'm concerned, we already have no excuse absentee voting in the state. That was quite clear between the constitutional review done by the Supreme Court in a recent case and the subsequent law change in House Bill 5262 passed last year. I think it's all a mistake. I don't believe that that's the way this should have been gone about. I think we should be using the actual constitutional amendment process to create no excuse absentee voting, but we haven't. And anyone who suggests that we don't needs to go back and look at the last several elections where major political candidates were encouraging their voters to vote by absentee ballot, whether they were ill or out of town or not. We have no excuse absentee voting right now. There's no reason to even continue down this road. And the only reason I could see positive to hear this would be to correct all that and do it properly. And set up parameters that actually do make sense to protect the integrity of the vote while giving that additional access. 37, an act concerning the Port Authority. I don't have any information here. Mr. Chairman, if you share anything on that, I'd appreciate it. Number 38 is a bill we've seen before about updating our state forms to include a non-binary gender option. I don't know that that makes a lot of sense, but it's certainly something that we can hear. 39, an act concerning quasi-public agencies. What concern would be my question on that one? An act concerning Freedom of Information Act exemption for research. That's at least a little bit more specific. Curious to know where that comes from and what the motivation is behind it. Number 41, an act concerning conduct toward elected officials in polling places. I know this probably relates to a bill that was introduced by Representative Steinberg that I saw. I have some concerns with this. I think that anything that goes on at a polling place that could amount to intimidation or harassment is probably, again, already illegal. And I'm concerned about trying to place elected officials at some position that is above the public. And that's what this smells like to me. So I will just state that I'm happy to have a hearing on it, but I do have some concerns. 42, an act concerning revisions to the state code of ethics. Again, we've had numerous titles. I'm a fan of the Office of State Ethics. I think it's a very well-run state agency. But for me, we should have individual bills about the individual proposals or one bill that kind of covers it all, not kind of a combination. An act concerning the Connecticut False Claim Act. I think this is something we've seen before. This is a good one. Number 44, an act designating various entities. Mr. Chairman, if you can give us any more meat on that one, that would be great. Number 45, an act concerning referenda and independent expenditure law modernization. This is a bill from the State Election Enforcement Commission. I don't want to make a joke of it, but I was going to say I'm already bored reading the title, but it's important policy. And I think that that's something we do actually have to look at the language to really make a decision about what's good and not. 46, an act concerning conflicts of interest due to an employer other than the state under the state code of ethics. This is also from them. So that one seems reasonable. An act designating various days, weeks, and months is something we always do. Is that the last one, I think, under that section? Thank heavens. I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman. If you can address any of the questions I brought up, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. You certainly gave us a lot to chew on there. I tried to take notes as you were asking your questions. I'll try to address all of them. If I don't, please let me know, and I will try to add on to that. I saw a question about the Connecticut Port Authority concept. As I'm sure you know, We've experienced a number of issues with regard to the Port Authority that have given members of the public and elected officials concern, and this would address those concerns. Item number 40, an act concerning freedom of information exemption for research. This comes to us from our state university system. They've received freedom of information requests for information that either seeks to obtain information that would ordinarily be proprietary or non-public for reasons of patient or other research confidentiality, and they wanted to have some clarity on what they're allowed to hold back in accordance with their other policies. I believe you had a question about an act concerning conduct toward election officials in polling places. This is to look into what we can do to ensure that election officials who have faced threats across the country from various sources not only are safe, but feel safe in those locations where they are serving the public, often for little or no pay. And we certainly appreciate all their work. So we want them to feel safe and secure, and they certainly deserve to both feel and be safe and secure. I appreciate your question on item number 44, which is an act designating various entities. In the past, we have entertained proposals for a certain official state entity, or for instance, a state pet or a state candy or a state food. At times those have been individual bills. At times those have gone in the days, weeks, months bill. We decided this year that we should create a separate vehicle for those items to be considered within. And I believe that is all the questions we had on those items. Please let me know if I missed anything.
Close enough, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I believe we have a comment from Representative Rosario. Representative Rosario, you are recognized.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. A quick question on number 26, an act concerning community outreach by state agencies regarding culturally appropriate terminology. Can you give us an example of what that would be? Like what type of terminology?
Sure. One example that's been raised is that certain elements of the Latino community have indicated that there's certain terminology used to refer to that community that is not necessarily used by that community. So we wanted to take a broad look at making sure that the state agencies that are referring to various communities are ensuring that the communities have had input on what terminology is used about them, because it's important to the dignity of those communities. It's important to those the inclusiveness with regard to those communities, individuals in those communities. So that is the aim and an example behind that concept.
Okay, I just wanted some clarification on that, because I know there have been some conversations out there regarding the terminology Latinx throughout not the state of Connecticut, but mainly in the Puerto Rican community, and I'm glad that this is being talked about. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Rosario. Is there any other further comment or question on these items? Seeing none, without objection, I'll place these items on the consent calendar. With that, I would entertain a motion to move the consent calendar. Moved by Representative Morambello, seconded by Senator Marks. Without objection, I would entertain a voice vote. Seeing no objection, all in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. The motion carries. That moves us to section 4 of our agenda, proposed bills to be drafted as committee bills. And one moment. All right, moving to item or section number 4 of our agenda, I would entertain a motion to raise items 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Moved by Representative Morambello, seconded by Senator Marks. Is there any question or comment on any of these items? Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just do what I did before, which is just kind of breeze through them and give you my take on what I have for information. These, at least being proposed bills, we have a little bit of language and they come from individual lawmakers, so we have an idea what they're looking for. Number 1, an act concerning the Citizens Election Program. There's some information. This is coming from Senator Looney. I think it has something to do with the timing of the grant monies being delivered to candidates, but also increasing the amount of those grants. It's hard to say whether I could support that at this point. I've not been a fan of the Citizen Election Program overall. I much prefer we go back to raising money individually for our political campaigns rather than using taxpayer dollars, but certainly worth a conversation. The next one comes to us from Senator Duff, an act concerning the right to be and privileges of an elector. And the notes I have said that will provide that convicts of certain crimes shall permanently forfeit their electoral rights and privileges. I've a real hard time with that. I also think it's inconsistent. I mean, we've had bills in this committee suggesting that people who are incarcerated, in fact, I think there are items on this agenda saying that incarcerated oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm discussing number 2, in which we did not do. That will be handled separately, and I apologize. I'm just going through these. I have a couple of items on this agenda, and I'm very appreciative of the chairs for raising them. Section number 8, item number 8, resolution recognized that all land in Connecticut was once Native American territory. It was pointed out to me in our caucus that I don't think that's in debate. So I don't know why we need a bill for it. Number 10 is another bill about early voting. I do wonder, Mr. Chairman, whether item number 14, House Bill 6401, which has a number of co-sponsors, whether this bill actually belongs in our committee. This has to do with the use of low carbon concrete in state construction projects. Sounds like an environment issue to me. So just you might consider that going forward. But I guess that's all I would say about those items that are in section 4 that you enumerated. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. Is there any further question or comment on these items? Seeing none, without objection, these items will be.
Mr. Chair, my apologies. Could you just please, for clarification, specify which of those items are going to be voted to draft?
Thank you. So this will be items. It will be all the items in section 4, except for items 2 and item 7. Without objection, these items will be placed on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, these items are placed on the consent calendar. I would entertain a motion to move the consent calendar. Moved by Representative Morambello, seconded by Representative Berger-Vallo. Without objection, this vote will be a voice vote. Seeing no objection, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the motion or the items are raised. With that, I would entertain a motion, or actually withdrawn. With that, we'll move to item 2 of section 4. Proposed Senate Bill number 244, an act concerning the right to be and privileges of an elector. Senator Sampson actually summarized this item aptly in his discussion on the previous item. With that, I will entertain a motion to raise item number 2 of section 4. Moved by Representative Parker, seconded by Senator Marks. Is there any further discussion on item number 2? Representative Master Francesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this bill is a little bit different, and this is, I do have obviously some objections to it. So I've been on this committee since 2019, and the focus is always to get people to vote. We put up a lot of bills, and the comments I've always heard is disenfranchising voters. We do have laws in place for people that commit a felony or they are incarcerated, that they cannot vote. They need to pay their restitution and so forth, finish their probation before they will able to vote again. This particular bill, it permanently makes somebody forfeit their voting rights permanently, which I find very disturbing. I also find that it's politically motivated based on events that have happened. Let's just say January 6th, for example. My other concern with this bill is, what about the other riots that took place in the summer of 2020? There's a lot of activists and a lot of groups out there. Is that considered? Are they included in this? I don't want to suppress anybody's electoral rights to vote. If they do something wrong, we have laws in place that will be punished for it. And when they clean that up, they'll be able to vote again. But for this committee to permanently remove somebody's right to vote, their constitutional right to vote, to me, quite honestly, I find is offensive to the voters. So that is the reason why I object to this vote. I'm sure we'll hear more on it, but this bill actually has language as opposed to the other bills, that the other concept that we did. This is really more clear of what we're trying to do here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Master Francesco. Is there any further comment or question? Senator Sampson.
What she said. No, I'm just kidding. I just want to align my comments with Representative Master Francesco. I completely agree. The objection to I have to seeing this bill is that, you know, we may disagree on any number of the items on the agenda, but it's based on the substance and the policy of the individual items. I don't consider any of the other bills that are on here particularly politically motivated. This one stands out to me as just, you know, trying to raise an issue for political, you know, maneuvering. And I don't think it belongs in our committee. I really don't. This committee has always worked very well together to try and work towards the best, you know, result as far as policy goes. This is just it's absurd. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. Is there any further question or comment on this item? Seeing none. This item will be this motion will be by roll call vote. And I urge my colleagues to support it. With that, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Senate Bill 244 to be drafted as a committee bill. Flexer.
Senator Flexer votes yes.
Blumenthal.
Yes.
Slack.
Senator Slav votes yes.
Morinbello.
Yes.
Sampson.
Senator Sampson votes no.
Master Francesco.
Representative Master Francesco votes no.
Berger Gervallo.
Berger Gervallo votes yes.
Bronco.
No.
Carpino. Haddad.
Representative Haddad votes yes.
Hoxa.
Representative Hoxa votes no.
Kana.
Representative Khanna votes yes.
Labriola. Marks.
Senator Marks votes yes.
McCarthy Vahey. McCrory.
McCrory votes yes.
Parker,
Representative Parker votes yes.
Rosario,
Representative Rosario votes yes.
Santiago,
Yes.
all set, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and we will be holding votes open until 2 p.m. today. With that, I move to item number 7 of section 4. Item number section of section 4 is proposed House Joint Resolution number 1, a resolution proposing a state constitutional amendment allowing for no excuse absentee voting. This is very serious. This is very similar to the concept we discussed earlier. It would call for a resolution for constitutional amendment to allow for the state of Connecticut to have no excuse absentee voting. With that, I would entertain a motion to raise number 7. Moved by Representative Berger-Travallo, seconded by Representative Haddad. Is there any comment or question on this item? Representative Master-Francesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, with this one, we do have some language on it as opposed to what the concepts were, and I've been opposed to the no excuse absentee voting in the last session that we voted on due to the fact that we don't have any, in my mind, any protections in place. We need to preserve the integrity of our elections. There's no ID requirements to vote. So to be consistent with my votes in the past, I would not be in favor of this until we have safeguards in place for voting. So that is the reason for my objection. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Master-Francesco. Is there any further comment or question? Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'll align my comments with my co-ranking member, Representative Master-Francesco, and point out that, we have no issue supporting the other concept that was in the first section that we voted on to discuss the notion of no excuse absentee voting, because I'm not necessarily opposed to the policy as a concept. But I do believe the way the statute was written that will ultimately be debated and voted on again and potentially show up as a constitutional amendment for the public to vote on, I think is not done in the best terms possible. And it's for many of the reasons that were just mentioned. There are too few protections for us to go down the road of no excuse absentee voting. And the other argument is the one that I've already made, which is that we already have no excuse absentee voting. Based on the state Supreme Court's argument and the change in statute last time, people in this state in both parties are proceeding as if we have no excuse absentee voting, which to me kind of points out the fact that either A, we always had it because we have not changed the Constitution, or what's been done over the last several years has been out of order and very questionable. And that's where I would align myself, actually, Mr. Chairman. But at any rate, I am opposed to the language that passed the last time. And I've already made the argument in this committee that, the process to get a constitutional amendment is either 2 consecutive legislatures have to pass by a simple majority, or one vote can take place in one legislative session that garners a 2/3 majority. I believe that we could get there if we worked on the language and we corrected some of the policy failings of the first bill. And a final point, not to belabor the issue, but these are the rules of the game. When we discuss election law, absentee voting, early voting, these are the rules of the game. These should not be partisan votes. We should never have a vote to change the rules of elections and voting that happens on a party line. And yet that's all we've had over the last several years. And that's wrong, Mr. Chairman. We should come to the terms about how we're going to play the game fairly together and do it as a bipartisan policy change. Just a final note. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. Is there any further question or comment from members of the committee? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
House Joint Resolution 1 to be drafted as committee bill. Flexer,
Senator Flexer votes yes.
Blumenthal,
Representative Blumenthal votes yes.
Slack,
Senator Schlapp votes yes.
Moran Bello,
Rep. Bello votes yes.
Sampson,
Senator Sampson votes no.
Mastro Francesco,
Representative Mastro Francesco votes no.
Burger Javallo,
Burger Javallo votes yes.
Bronco,
Bronco votes no.
Carpino, Haddad,
Representative Haddad votes yes.
Hoxa,
Representative Hoxa votes no.
Khanna,
Representative Khanna votes yes.
Labriola, Marks,
Marks votes yes.
McCarthy Vehi, McCrory,
McCrory votes yes.
Parker,
Parker votes yes.
Rosario,
Representative Rosario votes yes.
Santiago.
Santiago votes yes.
All set, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we'll move to section number 5. I entertain a motion to raise items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7, and section 5.
Oh, Mr. Chair, my apologies. I think that motion would be to reserve for subject matter hearing.
Thank you. Glad we have you here to keep me on track. So the motion will be, I would entertain a motion to raise items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7 for subject matter public hearing. Motion by Representative Parker, seconded by Representative Berger-Gervallo. Is there any comment or question on these items? Seeing none, without objection, this will be a voice vote on these items. All those in favor, seeing no objection, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next, we will, I will entertain a motion to reserve for subject matter public hearing proposed House Bill number 5702 and proposed House Bill 5714. Those are items number 5 and 8 on our agenda. They are both bills that would consider allowing individuals who have been convicted of a felony either to continue to vote and not have that right deprived of them, or allow individuals who are currently incarcerated to vote. I would enter, is there a motion? Moved by Representative Berger-Gervallo, seconded by Senator Marks. Any comment or question on these items? Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Mastro Francesco and I, we just never mind. It's not important. I was trying to keep our committee meeting lively. We debated over whether I'll do this one or she'll do this one and I'll do the next one, but I drew the short straw, I guess. This one, allowing incarcerated individuals to vote. We've had this bill before the committee many times over recent years. Like I said, I mean, it's ironic that this would be on the same agenda as a bill that would permanently remove someone's constitutional right to vote. But that being said, the issue I have here is that, you know, the reason why we have adopted a policy that says that we don't allow incarcerated people to vote is as a deterrent. We want people not to commit crime. And, you know, you'd think that, you know, being punished in other ways, fines, probation, even prison time would be enough. But that's the purpose for doing so. I have zero issue with restoring someone's right to vote once they serve their time. I think that is an encouragement, you know, to enter back into our society and become a productive citizen that once you serve your time for whatever crime you committed, that you have your right to vote restored. I think that's great. The issue has been in recent years about where we draw that line. Do we include people that still owe fines, people that are on parole or probation? And my opinion is that all of those things fall in the category of you're still paying your debt to society. But it seems to me it's been an incremental effort to get us to this bill, which is the notion that we should have people in prison voting. And I will stand by my position that as long as you owe a debt to society, you should not have that right restored. But it should also be automatic the moment that you're released from incarceration. So those are my objections, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Sampson. Any other comment or question on these items? Seeing none, this.
Mr. Chair.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Representative Rosario, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the indulgence. In the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico, at least 6,500 of the island's 11,500 prisoners are registered to vote. Many of them participate in primaries, both Republican and Democrat. And for many instances, inmates have rights as well. And we make a lot of those decisions on the conditions or lack of conditions for those inmates. So I think that, we're all U.S. citizens. We're residents of the state. I believe we have that voice to make sure that we advocate for our needs, including the inmate population. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Rosario. Is there any further comment or question on these items? I personally would just urge all my colleagues to support them. All right, these items will receive a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
One moment, Mr. Chair, please. I just need a moment. Thank you.
And just for clarification, this vote will be to reserve for subject matter public hearing items number 5 and 8.
House Bill 5702 and House Bill 5714 to be reserved for subject matter public hearing. Flexer,
From a stationary vehicle, Senator Flexer votes yes.
Blumenthal,
Representative Blumenthal votes yes.
Slap,
Senator Schlatt votes yes.
Morin Bello,
Representative Morin Bello votes yes.
Sampson,
Senator Sampson votes no.
Master Francesco,
Representative Mastro Francesco votes no.
Burger Giovanni,
Burger Javallo votes yes.
Bronco,
Representative Bronco votes no.
Carpino, Haddad,
Representative Haddad votes yes.
Hoxa,
Representative Hoxa votes no.
Khanna,
Representative Khanna votes yes.
Labriola, Marks,
Marks votes yes.
McCarthy Vehy. McCrory,
McCrory votes yes.
Parker,
Parker votes yes.
Rosario,
Representative Rosario votes yes.
Santiago.
Santiago, yes.
All set, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And again, votes will be held open until 2 p.m. today. Next, and I believe last on our agenda, we have items 6 and 9 of section 5. Those are proposed House Bill number 5704 and proposed bill House Bill 5717. These bills both deal with a subject matter that has been discussed in the public recently, which is that certain jurisdictions impose a requirement that individuals go to the polls in some form or another on election day, whether they choose to participate by casting a vote or not. Many people consider that a duty of the citizen. Others may disagree. In order to have that conversation, we will this session have a subject matter public hearing that includes these proposals. And so with that, I would entertain a motion to reserve House Bill number 5704 and proposed House Bill number 5717 for subject matter public hearing. Moved by Representative Santiago, seconded by Representative Haddad. Any comment or question on these items? Representative Master Francesco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I just wanted to get a little clarification on this particular bill. I find it interesting that we have a bill here that is going to mandate that the citizens of this state vote. If you do not vote, you need to submit a reason why you're not voting. And if you do not, you will get a fine. For me, I have no desire to mandate anybody, a free citizen of this state and this country, to mandate them to vote, or I will fine them. It's ironic that we also have a bill in here that is going to permanently remove somebody as an elector if they don't vote. So one, you're going to get fined if you don't vote, and the other one, we're going to permanently remove you as an elector based on a certain crime or whatever. I actually think it's going to be interesting to hear the debate on this one. And I got to tell you, I really look forward to it. It's amazing that the state that we would put a bill through, that we would mandate somebody to vote. What's next? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really look forward to this debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Master Francesco. Appreciate your comments. I look forward to the conversation as well at this subject matter public hearing. These two items, if there is no other comment or question. Oh, Representative Santiago.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to clarify, number 6 is more of the one that includes the fine and the rights to vote. Number 9 is more of a civic duty in voting. There's nothing in that wording that says that if you don't vote, then you will get fined. So there is a difference between both bills. And number 9 also is more of a conversation. This is already being done in Australia, which the bill is a little bit different. Also in the state of Washington, they are entertaining and has been signed the bill to be heard for public hearing by both sides of the aisle and both leaderships in both sides of the aisle in the state of Washington. So this is just for a conversation. So there is a difference between the two bills. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Santiago. Appreciate that clarification. And I would just add, in addition to what you noted, the vehicle of the subject or the mechanism of the subject matter public hearing allows us to have a conversation on certain broad issues that may be raised to our committee in order to decide whether and how we may proceed with any legislation on the subject matter. Is there any other comment or question by members of the committee? Seeing none, this motion will be a roll call vote. And the motion is to reserve House Bill 5704, item number 6, and proposed House Bill 5717, which is number 9 for subject matter public hearing. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, would you please call the roll?
Flexer,
Senator Flexer votes yes.
Blumenthal,
Blumenthal votes yes.
Slap,
Senator Slap votes yes.
Moran Bello,
Representative Moran Bello votes yes.
Sampson,
Senator Sampson votes no.
Mastro Francesco,
Representative Mastro Francesco votes no.
Burger Girbalo,
Burger Givallo votes yes.
Bronco,
Bronco votes no.
Carpino, Haddad,
Representative Haddad votes yes.
Hoxa,
Representative Hoxa votes no.
Khanna,
Representative Khanna votes yes.
Labriola, Marks,
Marks votes yes.
McCarthy Vehy, McCrory,
McCrory votes yes.
Parker,
Parker votes yes.
Rosario,
Rosario votes yes.
Santiago,
Santiago votes yes.
all set, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That is the last of our business for today. We will, if there's no comment or other question, which I don't see any, we will recess until 2 p.m. All votes of the committee will be open until 2 p.m. Thank you.
Representative Labriola,
Yes. How you doing?
hi, Representative.
Hi. Yeah, so I'd like to vote.
Oh, you know what? I need a minute. I'm sorry, Representative. I just need 1 minute, please.
Oh, no problem.
Okay, I think I got it. Sorry. I think I got it, Representative, if you're still there.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, there you go. Okay. Do you have an agenda?
No, but most of it was consent, right?
Oh, yeah, just for the roll call ones, if you, I don't know if you will need me to read the titles of, or if you're gonna be all set. Like if you want to open up the agenda or,
Yeah, you could just read the titles quickly.
okay. So Senate Bill 244. An act concerning the right to be and privileges of an elector.
That one, I'm a yes.
House Joint Resolution 1. Resolution proposing a state constitutional amendment allowing for no excuse absentee voting.
That one, I'm a no. I think there was 2 sets of 2 now. I'll be no's on those.
Okay, so you don't need me to read the title. You're a no on 5702, 5714.
Yeah, the 2 of them having to do with voting for incarcerated people and the other 2 about mandatory voting. I'm no's on all those.
Okay. You are all set, Representative.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. You as well.
Okay, bye-bye.